This is the TRU Leader Podcast. Today we talk about the national burnout crisis in the workforce and share how both organizations and individuals must take responsibility if we want to eradicate burnout. Keep listening.
Welcome to the TRU Leader Podcast. I'm Dr. Tracy Christofferson.
And I'm Michelle Tracy.
We are life and business besties, leadership coaches and mentors, and polarity intelligence experts. We're the authors of Polarity Intelligence, The Missing Logic in Leadership, and co-founders of Missing Logic.
We are here to help high-achieving leaders break through leadership norms that cause them suffering at work and home. If you're looking to elevate your leadership, increasing your productivity, effectiveness, and impact, and manage your health and well-being, spend quality time with those you love, and live your best life, then you are in the right place.
Our goal in this podcast is to equip you with new ways of thinking and practical and tactical strategies for succeeding at work and thriving in life. Think of this podcast as your weekly dose of personal and professional development so you can reach your full leadership potential, create a life you love, and be what we are calling a thriving, resilient, and unstoppable or true leader.
If you are ready to learn and laugh a little, let's get started. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the TRU Leader Podcast with Michelle and Tracy. We're back with you for another wonderful episode.
Oh, they're all wonderful. I don't say so myself. It's good to be in the studio, having a good day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Enjoying summer. What else? What else is there?
Summer and podcasting.
Yeah.
And family and friends.
A couple of our favorite things.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Well, we like to talk, so.
We do.
You know.
It's pretty fun to have a job where you talk most of the time.
Yeah.
What are we talking about this week, Tracy?
Oh, my goodness sakes. Well, we're going to shed some light on some things when it comes to burnout. We're going to talk a little bit about burnout. But today we really want to talk about responsibility. And there might be some things that we say that might trigger a few people.
Could be.
Might be one of those that gets triggered today or not. It just depends on what your perspective is. But, you know, burnout is not something new, you know.
Been around for a long time.
For a long, long time. But it's escalating. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, you're not going to eradicate it or alleviate these challenges with it if we don't talk about it and we don't talk about different ways to look at it and different ways to think about it. And so that's what we're here today to talk about. And we're here to talk about who's responsible to kind of help alleviate and eradicate burnout. And it's not just the individual and it's not just the organization. So we want to just kind of talk about that and how both can contribute to, alleviating the suffering of individuals who are having burnout. And so, you know, we just want to talk a little bit about where things are at today to start out with, right?
Right.
We know we're really pretty much in a national crisis, a mental health and burnout national crisis that's been determined by our U.S. Surgeon General, Dr. Vivek Murthy. And it's a critical imperative for mental health and well-being in the workplace is highlighted really. And it's across all industries, and it's not any one group. It's pretty much everybody in every industry. And it's really an imperative that we pay attention to this. And that's, again, why we're having more conversation about it. And burnout is stress in the workplace. It's results in exhaustion, cynicism, perceived lack of professional accomplishment. That's kind of how it manifests, how it looks. And there's a number of contributing factors. We've talked about these before in previous podcasts, but, you know, a lot of it is unsustainable workload, perceived lack of control, insufficient reward for the effort being put forth, a lack of a supportive community, and a lack of fairness, mismatched values and skills. And those are just some of the things that are contributing factors to burnout for individuals across the different industries. And actually, the Surgeon General's report indicated that 76% of U.S. workers reported at least one symptom of a mental health condition.
Wow.
I mean, that's mind-blowing. 76%.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
It's almost 100.
We're not far. Three quarters of the people surveyed, right? And 84% of the respondents said their workplace conditions had contributed to at least one mental health challenge. 84%. That's only 20% that didn't.
Right.
Right.
So the workplace is really important, and it's a topic today when we talk about organizational responsibility. Is that the workplace?
Well, we spend a lot of time at work.
We do. A lot of time at work.
So it's really important that we have a good work culture and work environments.
Yeah. So the Surgeon General's framework for workplace mental health and well-being is just a foundation to build on, and that was what was delineated in that report. And he cited it as workplaces could be the engines of well-being if we do this right, and outlined 5 essential elements, and each element is grounded in 2 human needs. And we thought it'd be worth, even if you read the report in the past, just telling you what those 5 elements are, or maybe you haven't taken the time to read that report. So the first one is just protection from harm, and that really addresses our human needs of safety and security as humans, right? Creating the conditions for physical and psychological safety is a critical foundation for ensuring mental health and well-being in the workplace. So important. The second one is connection and community, and that really supports just social support and belonging, and fostering positive social interaction and relationships in the workplace supports worker well-being. So that whole social connection is so important. Number 3 is work-life harmony. And this is being able to be both autonomous and flexible in the work environment, and recognizing that professional and personal roles can create work and non-work conflicts. And in order to promote these practices, it's helpful to assure work-life harmony. Mattering at work is important. You know, we all kind of want to matter.
Well, yeah. Everybody
right?
wants
Mattering
to feel like they make a difference.
And that really serves the human need of dignity and meaning. And so people want to know that they matter to those around them and that their work matters. And again, you spend most of your time with the people that you work with. And the last one is opportunities for growth. Just continually to learn and to accomplish things. And when organizations create more opportunities for workers to accomplish goals based on their skills and growth, workers become more optimistic about their abilities and more enthusiastic about contributing to the organization. So it's really important.
Yeah. All of those are, I think it's a great outline for how to, help the organizations be engines for health and well-being. And it really is, it's critical that they pay attention to those components. And of course, we've done a lot around the work-life balance, harmony piece of that with leaders. But the thing here too is, so the workforce is in trouble with burnout, but the leaders are too. And we've been watching that for quite a while, right? So to add fuel to the fire, leaders are burnt out. Various studies are indicating leaders are burning out. They're leaving their roles. They're leaving their professions. And we talked about leadership burnout in episode 220. Busy is a badge of burnout. We also just did an episode number 256 on CEOs and the burnout crisis for CEOs. And I think the question is, and I think the quality of our lives determined by the quality of the questions we ask, right? So here's the question. How effective can leaders be in creating new cultures if they're burned out? And everything is falling to the shoulder of the leader. It's the leader's responsibility, right, to create these cultures. But if they're burned out, then what are they drawing from, and what kind of role model can they be, and what kind of culture can they create? So I think we have to just really take it all in and think about that. And, our work impacts our mental health definitely, and our well-being. And the call is clear that workplaces need to adjust to support the well-being of their employees, of the workforce. That's essential. We spend most of our time at work, so it certainly makes sense. But those environments have to have to sustain and support well-being. It is essential, and individuals play a role in that as well, and in establishing and maintaining their well-being and health. And that's one thing an organization can't control and can't really influence, is what the individual decides to do, right? They determine that for themselves. So, we've been sitting in the downside of work environments that were not conducive to health and well-being for the workforce, where there was an overemphasis on the individual's role in their maintaining their own health and well-being, and they ended up, shouldering most of that burden. Not that organizations didn't provide some type of program or activities or different things to support individuals, but it was pretty much like, here it is, you do it. And we've been in the downside of that, and that's what's led to a real emphasis on the organization being the solution.
That's right. A lot of focus there.
Yeah. A lot of focus on the organization and the leaders fixing this.
And there are just some norms, or just kind of, this is the way it has been for a long time, that is causing that. And one of them is, historically, many of us were told your professional life is separate from your personal life. Yeah. Never combine the two. Don't bring work home.
And don't bring home to work.
And don't bring home to work. Yeah. And that you really were recognized for sacrificing. That was the badge of honor, right? And work first, life second. And burning the midnight oil. Oh, did that a few times. Working the extra shifts. It's the only way to get ahead. And it is easy for leaders to work to the point of exhaustion. And just...
Anybody.
Yeah, anybody.
Yeah. I mean, really, it applies all across all industries, right? So, a lot of people picked up a lot of shifts in their time, right? Whether you worked in the factory or wherever you worked, or you stayed late or worked long, or, did whatever it took to help the organization. And a lot of people burned the midnight oil and worked extra.
Right. And then what happens over time is you actually become less productive, right? Because you're exhausted and you're not as effective. But we, as humans, we approach every problem to solve.
We approach every problem to solve. We do approach every problem and we try to solve it. We do that, Michelle. That is so true. It is
our superpower.
We're
just going to go after this. And
we wear that badge of exhaustion. We wear that badge of honor, of, sacrificing, and we just go at it. Let's solve those problems.
But not every challenge is a problem to be solved. And so we know we need a new competency to help us with that, and being able to differentiate a problem in a polarity, or recognizing if it's a combination of both.
Yeah.
So that is the new thing that is needed.
It is.
To be able to get out of our old patterns.
Yeah. It is so true, right?
Yeah.
And again, what we're hearing and experiencing and seeing in different, leaders and different organizations and people that we talk with, these norms are contributing to burnout, wearing that badge of honor. How busy are you? Oh, I'm so busy. People ask you, how are you? Oh man, I am so busy, or I'm exhausted, right? Like it's a badge of honor, right? To be that way, but it's really not. And that 24-hour accessibility, that has gotten worse as we have the digital age has increased, right? And we are so accessible on our phones, on our computers, on our iPads, and it's just, there is no line in the sand anymore between work and home, between our professional lives and personal lives. So that 24-hour accessibility and being on call. So a lot of times people are on call, and when you're on call, you're not relaxing, right? You are on call. Like I had a friend that just took, like 72 hours of on-call time. 72 hours of being on call. That's a lot of on call, right?
It's hard to relax when you're on call.
Well, and it has an impact on your mental capacity, and your mental ability, and your ability to rejuvenate, and it just happens, right? And then the other thing, too, I think that's a big factor here is microstressors. And we talked about microstressors in episode 214. But really, this is that slow build up of stressors. They go unrecognized by your natural, body system that fight, flight, or freeze, that responds to stress. They fly under the radar of that, so your body never recognizes it, but it is taking a toll on you over and over and over. And many of us, these are just little tiny stressors that build up and pile up over time. And then, so those are some factors that are happening out there, I think, that are contributing to burnout as well. And then, we're hearing a lot around the responsibility of the leaders, responsibility of the organizations. And we have the, U.S. General Surgeon's report saying it's the organization's got to be the one. That's the place to put our attention. A recent Entrepreneur Magazine interview with Adam Grant, he said, burnout is a challenge to tackle in your organization that leaders need to be responsible for. So again, point in the direction, it's responsibility of the leader to take care of this burnout issue. And then in healthcare, the National Academies of Medicine, they were on top of this, before the pandemic even, with their action against clinician burnout, a system approach to professional well-being. And again, they are all about the system and having the system be accountable and changing the system structures. And systems do need to change. We do not deny that.
That's right.
They do. They have not been what they need to be, but it is not the system alone.
Right. It's a both and.
Yep.
And, burnout is a huge, huge thing. That's why it's still here. I mean, when you think about it, you said earlier it's been around for a long time. It's not just a blip on the radar. It's not something we can do a quick fix on. It is an ongoing issue. It has been. And it is a problem. Burnout is a problem we want to eradicate. And beneath it is a number of polarities that must be leveraged if we're going to effectively combat burnout in all industries. So
I think that's why it's ongoing.
Yeah.
Because polarities are ongoing. They never end.
They never end.
So even though we don't want burnout, that's the problem, right? It's what's underneath it that we're not addressing or we're not managing.
In the right way.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because if we only tackle it as a problem, we're going to be missing a lot of those underlying polarities, and it will not take care of it on its own, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have to think about our either-or thinking when it comes to burnout, because we will fail. So if asking the employee to take responsibility for maintaining their mental health and well-being isn't working, then that's why it's so easy for us to think, well, the answer is the workplaces. We got to go to the organizations. They're the ones that can fix it. Mm-hmm. And that's really not how polarities work.
Nope.
And there is a gap. We know there's a gap in what the organizations are doing, and we know there's adjustments that need to be done. And the individual needs also have to be looked at to contribute to the achievement of their own well-being and mental health stability. And when you put the two together and you're doing both at the same time, that's where we're going to see change.
Mm-hmm. Right. And, we spend a lot of time in the workplace. It is burnout is a workplace phenomenon, right, so to speak. And we know that what happens at home impacts that too, right? Because if you're not taking care of yourself at home, you're not rejuvenating, you're not doing the things that you need to do, then you're coming into the workplace already depleted, right? And then the stressors of the workplace. So they're contributing. So it's a both and the individual alone is not responsible. So that is correct, right? Like we have dumped that on the individual, do some meditation, take a day off, quick fix kind of things. That alone is not going to work, and just saying, okay, I'm going to take care of myself is not, because we still then have to go into the workplace. So, and the workplace alone is not responsible. It's really both of these together. And the only way we're going to get to that ultimate goal, right, to that greater purpose of having a healthy, productive workforce is if we reap the benefits of the efforts of both. Giving attention to the individual responsibility around their own health and well-being and the organization's responsibility around health and well-being. So it's the both and we're going to just talk a little bit about the kind of the positive outcomes that come when you do give attention to both to get you to that greater purpose of having that healthy, productive workforce. So when you're focusing on the organization, and the organization is being responsible for the health and well-being of the workforce and putting things into place, then you really get system level changes. And those system level changes really create a greater impact than individual level changes can on their own, right? So system level changes have wider span of impact than individual changes. So that's one of the positive upsides that we get when we focus on organizational responsibility. The other is the infrastructures for work redesign can really support workforce environmental changes, right? The things that help us to work more effectively, efficiently, reduce the strain and drain on the workforce themselves. Another is leadership commitment. So when the leaders are committed to this, that makes a huge, huge impact, right? They're role modeling, they're committed to doing the things, putting the things in place to support the workforce, all that. But if you can't have a workforce change without leadership commitment to it, right?
Right.
You need all the leaders committed. And then well-being culture, when that is prioritized across the organization, that can have a significant impact, right? So it isn't just something we're doing to solve a problem. It is something we're committed to, and it is a priority. It is going to be who and how we are. It's creating a culture of this is how we operate here. This is how we are together and how we support the people that work for us. That's a big difference when you have a workplace that has that kind of emphasis.
And at the same time, there's a lot of positive outcomes that happen when you're focusing on individual responsibility for well-being as well. So one is change occurs within the individual, and that impacts work and home. If you're doing your own work of being healthy, it will impact both. Individuals take responsibility for personal mental health and well-being because ultimately it comes down to the individual. And individuals do the inside work, shifting their beliefs, their thoughts, their behavior patterns at work and home that have a positive impact on resilience. So you can have things happening on the external and happening in the work environment, but if you are not really addressing the inside work and your own growth and development when it comes to health and well-being, you're still not going to have the positive outcomes of lack of burnout across the board.
Yeah, because you got to be responsible for your own actions and for your own thoughts and your own behaviors and how you're showing up in the work environment. And organization can provide all kinds of things. And you can show up and not take advantage of that, right? And not really reap the benefits. And therefore, then, right, it just perpetuates. So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, and there's other related polarities too, both from an organizational perspective and an individual perspective. So to kind of go back to Tracy talking about the organizational polarities, it's also important to look at well-being both from a short-term support and a long-term support strategy, right? Because it's always going to be changing over time. And structure and culture, putting the structure and infrastructures in place and the culture, that intention behind that. Mm-hmm. And from a personal, individual responsibility, it really is looking at the balance between your professional life and your personal life and learning how to experience the positive in both of those poles, as well as caring for self, caring for others, and activity and rest. And that all takes personal responsibility to know how to really leverage those key tensions or polarities in your life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's doing those will help you really reap the best out of the organizational changes that are made, right? So it's that both and. And, I think it comes back again to kind of the norms that we've lived with, across organizations. Don't bring your work to home and home to work, right? We are individuals. We're human beings. We're impacted by both work and home. And managing the energy between those is really critical. We've got to shift how we think about things, and wearing the badge of exhaustion and the badge of honor of sacrifice, we can no longer do that. It's not healthy for us. It's not healthy for the organizations ultimately that we work in. So shifting those beliefs is really, and those norms, and creating some new norms is really, really what we're all about. And it begins with just looking at how you think about things, what you believe, how you interpret things, and just letting go of that, those norms to work yourself to exhaustion, and the lack of the ability to balance between work and home. I think it's just you got to just reevaluate how you see things, the lens that you're looking through. What you believe is really the lens that you filter everything through. So stepping back and really thinking about what is it that I believe about this, and for some people, they believe the organization is responsible. And so even just stepping back to think about that, really, what's my part in this? I'm a part of the organization, so what is my part, and vice versa, right? And then changing how you think about balance. We've talked about this, creating dynamic balance. It's not about 50-50. It is about being fluid in that balance, giving attention where it's needed, when it's needed, but never to the exclusion of the other pole, whether that's your personal life or your professional life or activity or rest. It's really learning how to be in that dance, and to balance both. And that's essential if you want to get to that work-life harmony that's in the Surgeon General's report. You can't do that without really knowing and understanding the energy that sits between these different poles that you're trying to leverage and balance. And the other is habits. Habits. Oh, our habits are really unconscious behaviors. We've learned our habits too. Good habits, bad habits. We've learned them. We repeat them. And so really thinking about what are some healthy habits that we can engage in that can help us to maintain our health and well-being, our mental health and well-being, and how can we make that as easy and effortless as possible? And the best way to do that is to create some habits that support you, that really help you to be your best, whether you're at work or at home. And they make a big difference. They make everything so much easier because it just becomes, this is who I am and this is how I do it.
And start small.
Yeah, you don't have to have huge habits. Yeah. And even thought habits.
Oh, yeah.
Watch what you're thinking, folks.
We should do a podcast on that.
Oh, my. Yeah, we should write down our thought habits for a week and share them. We have loops in our head, right? And our mind is always going, and we have some thought habits that don't serve us either. That comes back to interpretations and how we filter everything. And so just really being aware of your thought habits and your physical habits, and all those things can really help when it comes to reducing burnout and doing your part for yourself. And then I think, too, the other is leaders are, they're the linchpin in an organization. We know that. And the organizations won't be healthy if the leaders aren't healthy. So leaders have to learn to role model health and well-being, mental health and well-being, and to be vulnerable in some cases, to share when they're struggling as well and what they're doing around that and how they're leveraging and managing this every single day, so that they're the people that they serve, the workforce that they lead, can see that and can take heed of that, and know that leaders are human beings as well, and they have their back, right, to the best of their ability to do that. Right.
So now let's talk a little bit about organizational recommendations and strategies. So one of the things that was suggested in that same article that Tracy referred to earlier in the entrepreneurial report was to examine demands causing burnout and reduce them or make them manageable. So just making things more manageable for people if you really want to reduce their burnout, and listen to them because they're the ones closest to the work. That's always a really good rule of thumb too. Increase choices, control freedom, and how to manage the demands. So not everyone's the same. So we have heard of of organizations that have options for people so that they can make choices on what's going to work best for them.
It's kind of that structure and flexibility.
Yeah,
piece.
it is. Yeah, very much so. And then provide tools to support and create a safe and supportive culture. So putting those in place so that they can be there for the workers. They know that they're there to support them, and it really does help change the culture over time. Now, in the Surgeon General framework for workplace mental health and well-being, there were several recommendations that were made supporting those 5 essential elements we went over at the beginning of the podcast. And so I'm just going to share some of those here with you now. And that is, number 1, prioritize workplace physical and psychological safety. Make it a priority. Create cultures of inclusion and belonging. Cultivate trusting relationships in the work environment. You want to normalize and support mental health. And we know this is a big part of just breaking the stigma on mental health. Mm-hmm. It's invisible. You can't see it. We know that talking about physical disease is so much easier than the mental health challenges that are going on. So just to really normalize that it's okay. Operationalize DEIA norms, policies, and programs, which is diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. Foster collaboration and teamwork. You really want that good partnership, what we call healthy relationships in the work environment. Flexible schedules, increase paid leave. And the report also calls for respect of boundaries between work and non-work time. And we know boundaries is really important. Engage workers in decisions. So it's not just directive decision-making. It's also participative decision-making that's important. Building a culture of gratitude and recognition. One of our core values is always begin with gratitude, and that's really important in your work culture. Foster clear, equitable pathways for career advancement. That's that growth and development people want. And ensure relevant reciprocal feedback. So a lot of great recommendations there.
Yeah. And all of those are action strategies that can really help with achieving those outcomes that we talked about earlier, too. So, yeah. So if you feel like, you are someone who is ready for a new approach to burnout, you really want to learn more about how to leverage these polarities, and especially to prevent burnout or to, eradicate burnout, then what you probably want to do is take a look at our book, yes. Polarity Intelligence, The Missing Logic in Leadership, where you can learn a lot more about polarities and about how to leverage polarities. And because underneath burnout is a multitude of polarities that have to be leveraged. And it starts with us to do that, right? And to learn how to do that. So you can go to our website, polarityintelligence.com, and there's multitude of ways that you can order the book there from the website. And we encourage you to do that. And if you're really kind of done experiencing the pain of following these old norms and experiencing maybe some of the, symptoms of burnout, or you're just ready to bust through these norms and combat burnout for good, right? Because you really want what most leaders want, which is to excel at work, to live thriving, fulfilling life at home, to have it all, to have what you work hard for, mm-hmm. right? Then we just can't wait to share with you some of the strategies and ways that we have identified that can be possible. And we are offering a free webinar that we would like to invite you to register for. It's called From Stress to Success, the best way for leaders to excel professionally and personally. How about
Sign up today.
Sign up today. Yes. So that will be, there'll be links in the show notes for you to sign up for that free webinar.
And that's a wrap for today.
It is.
Wow, we talked a lot about a lot of things.
Oh, yeah. It was good, though. It was
It really
good.
was.
Yeah.
The whole picture of organizational and individual responsibility when it comes to eradicating burnout. So, yeah, we would love it if you would join our webinar. In the meantime, we just want to thank you for being with us today, whether you're listening or watching us on our YouTube channel. And leave a comment in the YouTube comment section or on any of our social media platforms about the podcast and what you got out of it. We love to hear from you. Leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. We appreciate every single one. The more people that do that, the more the TRU Leader Podcast spreads to other leaders around the world. So if you have not taken time to do that, please just take a minute to do that. Tracy and I would really appreciate it. And be sure you subscribe on your favorite platform or our YouTube channel and our YouTube channel so you don't miss an episode. So until next time, stay safe and healthy.